Great. So it's nice to be here online with you all, and I welcome you all who are in the Hangout live with me, and those who are watching from the YouTube channel or from our CCE's website. So I welcome you all for this webinar, and I would also like to thank you all for taking this initiative, and you gave us overwhelming response when we declared the webinar. It was heartening to see that how many people are interested in this topic, and it is really a welcome sign that everybody wants to know what is being creative and how you can be creative and why it is so much important. So first I would just like to introduce myself. I'm Shirin Kulkarni. I'm basically from India, currently settled in Finland. I take care of the research activities and the content development activities that are happening in CCE, Council for Creative Education. I will briefly tell you about what is CCE. First, I will just go through quickly about this practicalities, that how this webinar will be conducted. So as you can see on the screen, the total time is 90 minutes, from which 60 minutes or about 70 minutes will be dedicated to the presentation. Then we will have this question answer session for about 30 minutes. Those who are live with me on Google Hangout, they can ask me the questions directly. Those who are watching the webcast from the website or from YouTube, they can post their question or post their comments on the chat window there, and then when we get some time to go through that, I will try to answer the questions which we get there as well. So a little bit more about me is like, actually I'm doing this research in the field of creative thinking and education for more than 15 years now. My research areas has been creativity and school environment, and how actually the school environment affects the creativity of the students, and what can be done to nourish this creativity, nurture this creativity. Other area where I work is about the comparative studies. So I'm doing research about different education systems and how creativity is embedded in these systems, and if it is not embedded, then how it can be embedded in these systems is my topic of interest. I have developed one model on the basis of my research, and that is called as CII model, which is creativity, identity, interaction. You will come to know more about it during the presentation. Then I have developed some narrative teaching techniques. Many of you are aware about our novel Panchatantra, which was written in India, and it has been the most translated novel. It has been already translated in 60 languages. So considering the peculiarities, studying the peculiarities of this Panchatantra, I have developed some narrative teaching techniques about that. Basically, I'm a psychologist, and I'm a trainer, and I have been doing my doctoral research here in University of Tampere, Finland. I'm taking care of other research and content development that happens through CCE. So now what is CCE? That must be question arised in your mind. So to give you the information briefly, actually CCE is an international cooperative research-based organization. We established CCE to promote, educate, and invent in creative pedagogy. So that is our main area where our expertise lies. We are mainly into training and consultancy, and teacher training is our main uh, field of work. Then, as you all know, that Finnish education system is currently known as one of the best education systems in the world. So, we have also studied the Finnish education system and its peculiarities, and we offer trainings related to Finnish education system and how creativity is embedded in Finnish education system with our partner institutes. You can see the names of the partner institutes. So we have collaborated with some of the universities here, some other agencies here, research organizations, and as well we work with different state governments from India, then from Bahrain, and some more projects are going on. Now we are starting our main topic, and I would like to ask, like, what is a teacher? So I guess a teacher has many facets, and he or she has many duties to perform. So uh, if we want to enlist what a teacher is, then we can say teacher is to inspire, teacher is to educate, teacher is to motivate the students, teacher is to share their feelings, what they are going through, to share their pain, to share their joys, to share their happiness. That's what the teacher do. And if we all are aware that if somebody, like in a first grade, for example, they have their birthdays, then they want their teacher to wish them on their birthdays. So they take the teacher as an important entity with whom they can share their feelings. Teacher is also there to cooperate with the students, with its co-worker, with the educators, and with the other stakeholders which are running the school. So the teacher is also to cooperate. Then one more important thing the teacher do is to empathize with students, with their feelings they are going through. Then the teacher is to energize the students, to energize the co-worker, to energize the school system. Teacher is also there to channelize the energy of the students, because we know the age when they come to the school, it's like 5 to 15 is the most energetic period of their lifetime. So it is a very important function of teacher that she or he channelizes the energy of the students. And the most important thing what a teacher is doing is to challenge their imagination, to challenge their creativity, to challenge their brilliance, to challenge their organization skills. So the teacher is there to challenge. So it is when we understand all these functions of the teachers, I would like to take to one more important thing, is that if we remember that we have some role models in our life. So you can see here four people who has been role model to many of us, like Mahatma Gandhi. He was a role model for the Indian independence movement. And why he was a role model? Because he chose a way which was never chosen by any other freedom fighter till that date, and that was non-violence. Another person we see is Mr. William Shakespeare. He has been famous for his literary skills, his writings, and till date people study about his literature. They study about his writing style. Another person who is there is Mr. Pablo Picasso. We all know that he has been a great painter, and he has developed his unique style of painting. Then Mr. Steve Jobs, who has developed his unique style of entrepreneurship. He has developed his unique designs of Apple. And if we look at all these people, then we can understand what they try to do is they try to find their own style. We remember them for their own style. And it is very important that we also understand that what kind of role models we have. So you can also think about who is your role model and why this person is your role model. I would like to ask a question here. Yes, to Mr. Himanshu.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me about your role model?
My role model is Shiv Khera. He has basically written books which talk about self-management skills and organizational skills. And the way he describes is in a very lucid language, wherein he talks about his own personal experiences from how he was once a door-to-door seller to an entrepreneur today. So basically, I keep following him more oftenly. So Shiv Khera is my role model.
Great, great, exactly. Very nice. Thank you. And what about Mr. Vijay? Can you tell about your role model and why he is your role model, he or she?
He or she. Well, maybe not as an individual, but in terms of the initiative which we started, obviously YouTube has been a inspiration for us in terms of offering a platform, an open platform where ultimately the user content is being shared and the content is being developed by all the users, and it's in a sense a collaborative tool for the whole humanity. So obviously
Great,
the power of the internet and particularly YouTube as such has been an inspiration as a model, you can say, rather than as an individual.
great, great. Now this
Great,
is a
great.
very
Now,
different kind of perspective that Mr. Vijay has given to us, so that a system or a model or a platform can be inspiration or can act as an role model, like you can learn something from it. Mr. Hiram, would you like to say something about it?
Yeah, I guess the role model for each one of us, or let's say for me personally, is definitely the nature for me, because I get inspired by the nature, and nature is a perfect teacher for me.
Great. Yeah, I will also tell about my role model here. I think for me, my role model has been Mr. Carver, George W. Carver, because he learned from his circumstances quite a lot. He is a self-developed man. He was a self-developed man, and he was very clear about his objective, that what he wanted to do and what he wanted to achieve, what was his purpose of life. So he was very clear about that, and he pursued his job, he pursued his research in that direction. So I think for me, he was very important role model. And now I know that every one of you who is watching this webcast, everybody of you, you have your role models in your mind. So try to think about their peculiarities. What did you like about them? Why do you follow them? And what would you like to inculcate from their life story into your life story, so that you can get inspired more to do your work, whatever you are doing right now, and what is your goal of life. Now, when we are talking about creativity, and as we are, I think most of us who have joined this webcast, they are mainly from the teaching field, or they want to do something in the education. I would like to propose that first we have to understand that every teacher and every human being particularly is unique. Nobody is like other person. Everyone has their unique capabilities, their unique style, and it is very important that we address that style. So every teacher, as I said, every teacher is unique. Now, how the teacher is unique? Because they have their unique personality, unique strengths, their own approach of looking at things, and the attitude that they have developed. That makes every teacher unique. Now I will show you some examples of such unique teachers and what they are doing with their unique styles of teaching. So here you can see some children and they are clapping and laughing, giggling. So I got this picture from one of the classes here in Finnish schools, and the teacher's name is Taina, and her peculiarity is that she used music as her teaching tool. Now, using music as a teaching tool, what's the meaning of it? So Taina is an expert musician. She plays piano. She sings well. So what she used to do is that she used to take music in any form while teaching, let's say, languages, mathematics, or even sports. I will give you some example. She was teaching her students about vowels. So she wanted to teach them the letter O. So what she did is that she made a beautiful song out of it. In Finland, Apple's Finnish name is Omena. So she chose the word Omena and she made a song like Omena, 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 oh, 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 because she wanted them to say that oh. If she just say them that I will say oh and you have to repeat it behind me and you have to repeat it for 5 times, 10 times, it would have been so boring. But instead she made a song and she used it, the music as a tool for teaching the awe. A similar example is that she used to teach them mathematics with rhythm, and then they used to like tap on the desk, some of them, and then some of them used to tap their foot. So she used to create such an environment which was very entertaining and which was very engaging for the students. So she connected music with all the subjects she wanted to teach them in an entertaining way. So that was her teaching tool, uh, according to her personality, according to her creative strength. Another example I would like to give is about creating systems. So for example, if you some of you might say that see, I'm not a person who is having any kind of music as my strength, or I can't paint, I can't draw, I can't dance, so then what shall I do? But I will tell you that your personality has some style. You have some of your own style where you can create systems. For example, like Marjut, who is another teacher here in another Finnish school. And what she used to do, she was best at creating the rules, creating the systems in the classroom. So what she used to do is that she used to discuss with the students that what are their duties as students when they come into the classroom and how should they behave. When I was talking to her, she told me that now you can see the discipline in my class, but earlier when I got them in the 3rd grade, she was teaching at that time to the 4th grade. So she told me that I got these students in the 3rd grade And when I got them, this class was famous for its naughty behavior or naughtiness. So she said that first I decided that I have to work with them about controlling their naughty behavior and and make them more disciplined. So she said that I discussed with them for about first whole term that how we can, like, have a kind of discipline in our classroom, and it should not be based on punishment, but you have to think about what do you want to do at particular time, how you want to answer the questions. So she created the system with the help of the students. So she involved the students in creating the system, so they automatically followed. Now in this picture you can see that they have built some castles there. You will be amazed to know that these castles were created in the classroom when the teacher was not there. She was busy in some kind of training in going on in the school. So for 2 hours she was not there in the classroom. The groups were already made, and then the groups decided that what kind of castle they want to make, and then they built these castles when the teacher was not there. So from this example you can see that her strength was into creating the systems, and she made her students understand the importance of learning, and that's how she could engage them even in her absence. So the students were engaged, they were doing something, they created something, and you can see that no two castles are similar. So all these castles are different from each other. So she gave them freedom, she gave them a choice, and then she gave them the set of rules of how it can be created, how it should be created without disturbing other classes, without disturbing other groups. And that's how she, by creating this system, she used her strength uh, of creating systems as a teaching tool. Another such example would be using painting as a teaching tool. There is another teacher here who teaches also into the to the high school students. Generally, when we say about painting or arts and crafts, we think that, oh, it is okay with the little kiddos. But what about the youngsters or the adolescent people who are there? So I can say that Maria, who is a teacher in the high school here in Finland, what she does is she uses painting as her teaching tool. And when you visit her classroom, you will be amazed to see the history books, their geography books, where the students have drawn wonderful paintings, drawings about historical persons, like for example, Napoleon Bonaparte. They have drawn some Egyptian cave paintings, then mummies, and it is not for the sake of art. They are doing it as a part of their study. So she makes them understand many things using drawing or painting as a tool. I'm sure many of you are having all other various kinds of teaching tools which you can use. Now, by seeing these examples, what we understand is uh, to nurture this creativity in the students, because we are concerned about the students' creativity, right? That's why we all are here. So when we are concerned about the creativity in the students, we have to understand that students are always following the teachers. For them, teachers are their role model. So when we were talking about the role models, I also wanted to tell you that the students always look upon the teacher as a role model, because teacher is the significant other when they leave their family and they come to the school. So it is by default they follow their teachers and what they do, how they do, and then they start following the things that they like about their teacher. So it is very important that if you want to nurture the creativity of your students, then you have to exhibit your own creativity in front of them. Now, to exhibit your creativity, it is required that you understand yourself. You understand your creative strengths. It might be painting, it might be drawing, it might be like illustrations, it might be singing, or anything else on this earth that you think that that's your strength. But the important thing is that you have to have some kind of mastery on that tool so that you can make it as your teaching tool. And you have to, constantly think about the connection, that how can you connect these two things. Now, why it is important that you find about your own creative strengths, how it helps in your own personality, like how it helps for your own personality development. So there is a connection between the creativity and identity. We often don't know that why we really need creativity in education. See, if we talk to some teachers who are from like they are kind of about to retire or something like that, then they say that why do you nowadays talk more and more about this creativity, why it is important, why it is needed. And generally when we say creativity in education, we just think about the arts and crafts in the education, and we always think that to increase the creativity in education means you have to kind of give them some opportunities, more opportunities to draw, to paint, and to express themselves. Yes, that's all is true, but sometimes we really miss the why factor in it. We really don't know why it is important, why we are giving so much importance to creativity nowadays. Uh, as we all are aware that this economic scenario and the global scenario about employment is changing day by day. So we certainly think that creativity is of course required, because you have to think differently to stand out, so that you get employed. You might need it if you want to do your business. For that, the innovation and creative thinking is required. That's true. I agree on that. But is it only limited to that much? So I would certainly say that it is not limited only to employability or only to stand out from the crowd, but it is more related to a person's identity. Now, I have developed one model that is called as creativity identity interaction model. I presented this model in a conference in Oxford in 2010, and it was well received. And I'm still doing further research on it to make it more like to make it more available for other people, and I'm testing it on different age groups. So here, if you see in this model, you can see there is a goal, there is a circle where creativity is written, which leads to product or idea, then it leads to identity, again to product and idea, and then again back to creativity. Now I will explain it one by one. So generally what we all have some dormant seeds of creativity within ourselves. Everyone has it. You might have heard about a model called Big C, Little C theory. So this Big C, when we tell, is Big C is about the creativity that an artist has. Like for example, Picasso or Shakespeare. So they were like creative people. They had this C maximum in them. So they became the artist. But Howard Gardner and Csikszentmihalyi, they both of them has proposed this big C little c theory, where they say that everyone also has this little c in them. Now, what is little c? Little c is your little creativity that you use in your daily life. For example, something in your house is broken. Let's say a mixie. There is one person in the house who has the skills and who has these ideas of what can be wrong with that mixie, and then he tries to fix it and he can do it. So that person has this little c about this routine thing in daily life. We all have such little c, but the important thing is that we have to look at it. So these creativity seeds are dormant in us. They are within us. We are not aware of them most of the times. Now something triggers that creativity and we produce something. Like for example, if a person is very sensitive and then something happens to him or her, let's say heartbreak, for example, then he or she writes a poem about the heartbreak. So this creativity, which was like dormant, now it came to some product, or it can be just an idea. It is not really important that whether it's something concrete or something abstract, but it can be a product or it can be idea. So product means it can be a poem or it can be an idea about some project or something like that. So both are equally considered as product. Then a person, when he, let's say, as we were taking this example of heartbreak and then writing a poem, then when the person actually pen down a poem, then that person has this narrative discourse. You can see it is written here, narrative discourse with this product. When the narrative discourse means what? That the person who has created that product has a dialogue with the product. This all happens subconsciously. So you might not have noticed it happening with yourself, but next time when you create something, try to notice it. So it is like when the poem is created, then the creator or the writer has a dialogue with that poem, because that poem is a part of his or her identity. It tells something about the life story of that person. Now here when I refer to identity, it is mainly the narrative identity of a person. Narrative identity was again a concept developed by some psychologists. I will not go much into those technicalities, but to make it simpler for all of you, narrative identity is your own story, your life story, and which is narrated by yourself, and sometimes it is narrated to you by significant others in your life. For example, your mother tells you something about your childhood, your teacher tells you something about how you used to behave in the school, and things like that. So that comprises this narrative identity. So when you have this narrative discourse, then you understand something more about yourself. So that identity gives you a kind of realization that, oh, I'm capable of writing a poem. So this gives you a kind of positive self-image that, oh, I'm capable of doing this also. This realization, with you write, let's say, a couple of other poems, or you write an article, and then you feel more confident that I have this capacity now, I have this strength, and then you do more experimentation. So after the realization, when you have the product, you tend to experiment more. When you experiment more, what you do is that you try to understand, oh, now I can write poem, Maybe I can also try. I remember that I used to like music. Maybe I can give tune to my poem, and I can write some poem for my students. And I have some poems in the textbook, so I can apply some tune to it, and thus it increases the creativity again. So it is always like, work in the form of a cycle. So your creativity leads to identity, like a positive self-image, the realization, then you create something again, and thus this cycle goes on. Now for the students, it is very important that they have a positive self-image. It is related to their life. So nowadays we hear so much about youngsters doing suicides, committing suicides. Now why it is so? Because most of the times, they don't realize their own potential. They don't realize their positive things, what they have. They don't realize their potential. They don't realize their strengths. And then with some false images, with some false narratives that they have about themselves, they take such kind of drastic steps. So to really avoid these kind of things happening in future, it is important that the teachers help their students in finding their own creative strengths. And as I said earlier, to help them finding their own creative strengths, it is important that you yourself know what do you have in you, what kind of things you can do better. And there should not be any competition, that it is not required that you are drawing better than the somebody else, maybe your colleague, maybe your sister, maybe your brother, but you are better than somebody else is not required. It is just required that you have your own creative strength, and then you can develop that strength further. You can connect it with your teaching, and then you can exhibit in your classroom. Ultimately, it will give your students a motivation, inspiration, challenge to find out their own creative strength and how they can connect it with their life, with their studies, with their personality. It is very important, and it plays a crucial role in their life that they understand who they are, what are their capacities, what are their strengths, and what is their identity. Generally, when we see, like, as a psychologist, I can tell you that when we used to study about this developmental psychology, we used to study a lot about this adolescence and the struggles in the adolescent period. And the same struggle happens also in the late ages, like when you are about 40s, 50s, and even sometimes when you retire. Some people say that, I worked in this field for so long, but I still didn't get satisfaction. Why? Because that was not my field. It was not my passion to work. Earlier, it used to work that you can work in a field about which you are not passionate. But nowadays, with growing competition and changing scenarios, it has become really crucial that you choose a field carefully, where you will be passionate to work for many years in your life. Otherwise, people, they just lose their interest in their job. They lose their interest in their life, and then they kind of, go towards the negativity. So as a teacher, it is our responsibility that we make our students understand their own identity. And actually, the goal of education should be, and is actually, to help students find themselves, find their identity, find their potentials, find who are they, and find what they want to really do. with all the strengths that they have got, with all the energy that they have got. So it is, I really advise you to think about this creativity and identity relationship and try to, apply it in your own life. First, to find out what are your creative strengths, what do you want to do, and then about with your students, that what are their creative strengths, what they can do. There are some simple tips about how you can encourage them. I will give you 1 minute time to think about how you can find the creativity in the students, how you can nurture the creativity in the student. You take this one time. Those who are watching it from the webcast, I will ask them to write it into the comments, and those who are live with me, I will ask them to write it in front of them on a piece of paper, or on the computer screen, or in the chat. We are having it after 1 minute. Okay, your time starts now.
we can see that in the chat section of the live Google Hangout.
Yeah.
There are already few ideas
Good.
in place.
Great.
And there are some real-time examples by Dr. Joshi, by Savarkar Madam, by everyone who is commenting there.
Great. Yes. So those who are there with me, Mr. Himanshu, can you tell something about the idea yourself?
Probably what I generally do, or I think, is that most of my lectures generally keep students engaged on sports ground. I basically teach physics, so sports field is absolutely a wonderful place wherein I keep my students engaged. Uh, Certainly, what I mostly do is I just come up with some few topics, and I give them an option to choose a topic out of a pool of chits made by me, and they are actually having everything in front of them on a sports field, and they are supposed to come up with an explanation of how that particular topic given to them can be explained or can be demonstrated to the rest of them in a creative manner using any part of the sports field or anything available with them. So they really come up with fascinating ideas and teaching concepts which are really very difficult in the classroom at times to teach on board can be done very easily. Talking about converting potential energy to kinetic energy using examples of swing has really been amazing. So that's how mostly we follow. So that
Great.
is my side of creativity.
Nice. Yes, I think Mr. Vijay has written some comments. Mr. Vijay, can you just quickly speak about it?
Yeah, what we have been experimenting, particularly in the few pilot schools, is that ultimately give students such an environment, like as Himanshu just mentioned, maybe an external extracurricular activity background like yoga, karate, music, or for that matter, even since we are more passionate about, or that's our focus area, about an option of e-learning, or as we may call it, e-class, or CAL, which is computer-aided learning. So basically encourage them to be more inquisitive and participative. Yeah.
Yeah, great, great.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for putting your ideas, and we can think more on these lines about, there are in our classrooms there are some students who are already motivated and already encouraged to express themselves, and they can do it more often, but we
Yeah,
have
couple of comments. Just a
yeah,
second. Couple of comments from the live hangout live chat.
yeah, please.
Dr. Joshi has mentioned that Mrs. Joshi that using the clay and beads for understanding the solar system. So that's one of the area which she has mentioned, and also she has used many of the methods in the medicine practice. For example, using clay models for creating medicines, using it on the various therapies. Example like giving stories in the medicine and sciences, behind the medicines, and also understanding. So these are the various creative methods. And
Yeah,
also there has been
actually, I would just like to quickly comment on this, that we have already like enlisted kind of the strategies that we are using there, and what tools we are using, to have the creativity in the classroom. I want to draw your attention to the matter that what we were discussing it about, how the students can find their own identity, their own creative strengths. So just think more on those lines as well, that how the students can find their own creativity, and for that what we can do. All your ideas were fantastic, and I appreciate them very well. But also think about like how they can find their own identity, how they can find their own creative strength. Now we can help also the teachers and the students to find out their own creative strengths. We have some programs designed for that. I will share my screen again. So we can help you in finding your own style by, we have developed one psychometric test where we help you finding your own creative strengths, and it's a written test, as well as we provide some counseling session in that to find your own unique strength, and how you can apply it. So that we do through our teacher empowerment program. I generally don't we generally don't want to use the term training, but it is like empowerment. We want the teachers to be independent. We want to give them the tools with which they can find their own styles. We don't believe in giving much ready-made solutions, but we believe that every teacher has the potential to find out their own style, to find out their own tools according to the locality where they are teaching, according to the students in front of them. And teaching is such a creative profession. Like, you get always new students in new grades. You get new students, and every student is unique, as we were talking sometime before, that every teacher is unique. So similarly, every student is unique. So it is important that when we teach them, we have to consider their backgrounds and their strengths. So that's why we call our programs, training program, as actually empowerment programs. As I understand that many of you are already doing so many experiments in your teaching, and so many things. Then we also have some kind of programs with which we help the schools, to develop their creativity, their develop their pedagogy based on creativity. And then we have some kind of accreditation program related to that. We help the schools from the inception till they start running full-fledged. And we give them all kinds of inputs, all kinds of trainings related to not only to the teachers and principals, but we also like to take into consideration the parents school cooperation. We want to bring the support staff also into the stream of education, and how they can be used in the in this stream, like, because they are they are the people with whom the kids are very friendly and very informal. So how we can use those people in enhancing the education experience altogether for the students. We every year we have a symposium here in Tampere, Finland, and this year also we are having it in November, where you can present your ideas, your experiments, what you are doing. So this Creative 100 is mainly related to that. I will just show you the link for that. So here you can see that we are going to have this 5th International Symposium in November, and in this Creative 100 exhibition, you can submit your ideas about what you have done. It can be an individual idea, or it can be a group of teachers who can submit their ideas, or at a school level, if you have done some project, which is also welcome. It is also open for the higher education institutes. Like, for example, I understood that we have one professor from medical college with us on this webcast. So it is advised that you provide your entries for this exhibition, and your school can there will be other countries joining this exhibition. There will be many Finnish teachers in this exhibition exhibiting about their experiments, their ideas, and it will be really a learning platform for all of us. And CCE is doing it not just like it is not for profit event, and we are doing this to create a reservoir of creative ideas from all over the world. Like we always get at least 20 countries representation in our symposium. So we will get to see so many experiments from different countries, and I encourage all of you to participate here. You can fill up the registration form and send it to us. There is no fee for registration as such, like to send your entries. Once your entry is getting selected, then you have to pay some nominal fees, but the important thing is that you should participate in such things.
Yeah, actually, just I would like to share one good information which we just checked. We have already crossed more than 1,200 ideas from 6 different countries. We have received, and we are shortlisting them right now, and it's a great response from all of you. Thanks for that. The maximum ideas which we got was from government of Chhattisgarh state-run schools, and they are from very remote areas on the very creative ways of learning with the tribal students. Also, we got the ideas from Australia. We got Australia from New Zealand, as well as we got the ideas from Germany as well. So it's really great to see all these ideas. And as well as we have already shortlisted the 100 new ideas from Finland, which are there. And when we say shortlisted, like we appreciate all the ideas which are required for that particular solution, but we have, because of the limitation of the space, we can just host 100 ideas from Finland and 100 from rest of the world. But we are creating a repository of more than 5,000 these ideas, and which will be available free of cost for all the educators and teachers across the globe. And it is more important that everybody can be able to contribute, use these ideas free of cost for their future use. So just that's a brief update from my side.
Yeah, as I was like giving you these examples from Finland. So it is we have found that in Finland actually they are doing they have embedded creativity in their day-to-day teaching very well. So we really advise most of you, if it's possible for you, to really come and have a look at the Finnish schools. We regularly arrange these kind of Finland education tour, or to be specific, we call it as training for Finnish education, training for international educators about Finnish education system. So you can see that every month actually we are getting people from all over the world. Already our August and September tours are already full, because people are coming from the USA, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, UK, Turkey, and Japan. And so really all countries, and even from Hong Kong and Singapore, and even African countries, they are coming to see the Finnish schools here. When you come here, you can really see how they use their creative strengths as teaching tools. You can visit the classrooms, you can see how they are teaching there. And the important thing is that they do not create something to show you, like show the visitors that this is how I'm doing on that day, but it is their day-to-day affair that they generally teach in that manner, and they choose the method according to the topic, according to the students they receive. I was talking to one teacher here, and he said, last time I got a group of students, and they were very enthusiastic, very energetic. So I had to plan my lessons where they could move a lot, they could play a lot. But now this year I got a group of students and they are more inclined towards reading and writing and presentations. So now I have to plan my lessons and plan the activities in such a way where reading, writing and presentation is of more significance. So we can see that they really change their style of teaching according to the group of students. And I'm sure you all are doing it, but just to get some more advanced kind of teaching experience and some teaching tips from these teachers from Finland, I really recommend you to once to come to Finland. Our next dates, you can see it here. So the dates are in October 22nd to 27th. Then we have in December 10 to 15, February, then April, and then May. So these are all there. Now we also have Mr. Gordy Keller as our committee member, advisory committee member, and our trainer. And he recently actually visited India. Just in May and June he was there, and his presentations and his style was highly recommended, highly appreciated. Now he will be also giving some trainings online for CCE. Is like on 28th July he will be talking about child's view on learning. On 4th August, he will be talking about nourishing the childhood. And his lectures are worth listening for teachers as well as parents. So those of you are here today representing a school, I will suggest that maybe you can have these kind of trainings also for your parents. They will be really happy to listen Mr. Body Keller. He will be visiting India again in September in these cities, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune. And in Finland, he will be taking some trainings on conflict resolutions and creative pedagogy. He also works in many other countries. Like, I will not keep on telling the list of the countries where he works, but it is that he is doing for many countries and with CCE. Now, after this webinar, our next trainings and webinars are related to creativity in education. It will be on 18th August. The time is from 2 to 5 EET. Then narrative teaching part 1, 1st September. Narrative teaching part 2, 15th September. And then we have developed a training especially for this NCRT maths, and that will be on 8th September. Again, the time is the same. You will also get all this information in our following newsletters. You can register for the same, and you can always write to us at info@ccefinland.org. And I highly appreciate your contribution today. Actually, 1 hour time is not really enough for talking about any topic in detail, but I tried my best to give you 1-point idea about how the creativity and identity are related and why it is important to find out your own creative strength. And so I would like to ask you something before I end my presentation. That I want you to take away something from this webinar, though it was just a short time. So I want you to write on a piece of paper that what is your creative strength. You can think about it and you can write about it, and just keep the paper with you. When you exit from this webinar, or when the webinar ends, you think on it and you think about how you can connect your creative strength with your teaching. How can you create a teaching tool with using your creative strength? And that will be the takeaway from today's webinar. I thank you all very much for listening to my ideas and giving your inputs for the same. And now I stop here my presentation. And
yes,
now
Shirin,
it's time.
great.
Yes, it's time for you to post your comments, ask your question, and
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Shirin. It was a great information and presentation from your side. I really appreciate this. I guess there are a few questions and comments on the chat window as well. But one of the generic topic which I found it important. Myself and Gaudi, when we were traveling across more than 12 cities of India in last 20 days in the month of June. We found that in most of the places at the end of the workshops, this was a common question by the teachers that can you share most possible good teaching practices in the classroom, and can you give some games, can you provide some ideas, can you provide all these things. So our answer, what you mentioned, was also on the same lines, that yes, we can provide you some 10, 12 or 1,000 different ideas which can be worked on and which we are working. But what is useful for you as a teacher in your classroom based on your students and based on your requirements, your problems is totally different. And I guess whatever point which was made by you was very significant in this part, so that it is not important that you have to copy somebody's other styles, but you have to find your own style, you have to find your own strength. And once you find that, how small or how, let's say, primitive it can be, you can develop it based on the, once you can develop it further, you will get a confidence of creating new methods. And once you create new methods, then your identity will be formed based on those creativities, and then those identities lead to the further creativity. So I guess that was a very good part. I guess we wanted to also mention it in the same way, but you have put it in a very succinct and brief way. Thanks from that point of view.
Yeah, any comment from Mr. Himanshu?
No, ma'am, no comments yet.
But what did you think about the webinar? Like, the idea about creativity and identity. What's your thinking on that?
The overall objective, what I feel about the creativity, identity, interaction model is that the model is really amazing. I just found, or else I personally feel that the next, step after creativity, after incubation, I think there has to be somewhere a section of purpose. I personally feel that if a student has a purpose, to use his creativity for some betterment, I think that could be a part of the model. So that is what is only running in my mind. I'm yet to understand it more in detail, and the purpose is the only step that I look forward for being in the creativity.
Yes, great. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Vijay, do you want to say something about it?
Yeah, thanks a lot for your inputs and for sharing this model. So it was nice and good to understand that there are different styles, and obviously you encourage teachers to use their own creativity and their own styles and approaches. So that was a good idea which we'll work on. Thanks a lot, and we'll be in touch with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hiram, can you just, or Hiram or Kshitra, can you just read the comments that we have on the live chat, so I can answer those questions as well? Hiram, I cannot hear you.
Yes, okay. One of the comment here is that there are many suggestions and there are many good ideas. Suggestion instead of that, there are ideas actually, that what are the key ideas based on your entire presentation. So those are ideas like how to conduct the field trips in a more fruitful and creative ways. Mainly for the automobile and automobile sectors, they can be useful, and it is very exciting for the students to know about it with the basic principles of physics. And also the same thing was comment also about how we can be able to use various creative actions or creative stories as a part of the teaching method. There is a question which has been posed about, can you give some thoughts about how to nurture creativity in children, not in the school, but as a parent?
Yes, exactly. Actually, I have also written an article about it, like how you can, nurture the creativity as a parent. So the first important thing is you have to understand that your little one, though he or she is little in size and maybe less in age, but he is a complete human being. So he has all the features that a human being has. So like he can be angry, he can be joyful, and he gets hurt and he feels the pain. So you have to understand that, and you have to give them a chance to express their emotions completely. So they should feel comfortable when they talk to you, when they express themselves. Whenever you find that sometimes they do something wrong, or they some mistakes. So instead of condemning them, like for example, some persons, your child's name is Ajay, let's say, and you say that Ajay, I'm angry with you. You should not say such in like, Ajay, I'm angry with you, but instead you can say that, Ajay, I didn't like the way you uh, do this particular thing, or the way you throw your shoes. I want you to keep them in the shoe rack. It will look better there. What do you think about it? And so, making them think about themselves, like how they will feel after doing a particular thing in a better manner, in a better way. And once they start, back answering, typically in adolescent, it is always good to reason with them. Ask them that why they are feeling so. What has happened? Do they have some problem in the school, with their friends, or something? At this age, the students, they don't want, like your children, they don't want to share their feelings, like they don't share it easily. They are very difficult to crack. So you have to create some kind of such activities where you can know about what they are really feeling. One of such activities can be role play, where you can ask them to play some role of their friend, or of their teacher, or somebody significant in their life, and then they can come up with answers. And another important thing is to giving them honest feedback. uh, Children are, they are very smart. So if you just keep on praising them without anything, then that doesn't help. They understand that, my mother or my father, they just praise me. Whatever I do, they will praise me. They will give me a feedback that I'm looking for. So the honest feedback is always important. So it is recommended that whenever your child does something, maybe he or she cooks someday, and then you can always appreciate the efforts. That what it is important, that you felt like doing something. So that is very important. But if let's say the form is not good, then you can suggest, this is important that you did it, but it can be improved in such and such a way. So it is really it's really significant that you give honest and immediate feedback. So if he has drawn something and he comes to you running, like typically when they are 5-year-old till the age of 5-6, they want to show you something that they have created immediately. And that time you have to pay the attention to them and appreciate them. Oh wow, this is nice, this is so good. And it boosts their morale, it boosts their confidence. They understand that my mother, my father, my parents, they they value me, they value my creation. And ultimately it leads to their positive self-image, and that leads to their boost in the self-confidence. And then they feel like experimenting more, they feel like doing the things more in different way. And they win over the fear of rejection, they win over the fear of condemn, uh, and then they feel more comfortable. And then they don't fall prey to peer pressure in school, or in further in the college, and further in their jobs, or like in their offices. So it is really crucial that as a parent, you should be able to give the comfort and the confidence to your kids that they are safe with you. They can safely share everything that they feel with you, and you will understand them whatever they say, and then you will not react, but you will respond them as an adult. So that's what they need. I guess I have elaborated enough about the nurturing, and I also have the article which we will publish on CCE's blog there, which you can refer to. Thank you. Is there anything else, or then we can close?
I guess you have really elaborated. That's really great. I guess the questions from those points which I just briefed on these areas are all done. If you would like to conclude just on your points, more than welcome.
Okay, so it was really nice to have you all here in this call. I appreciate your participation, and I thank you who has joined me live on this Google Hangout, and those who joined the webcast from all corners of the world. Thank you very much, and we will see you again and again through our upcoming webinars and trainings, and in Finland as well. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice evening.